So good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. My name is Vishnu Dutt. Today we are going to start our second session of campus network design from scratch. What we are going to do today, a little bit of recap where we left our first class. Then we are going to talk about again the campus network of only 10 people. I would like to show you what were the problems associated with it. Although we saw that 10 people, for 10 people it was pretty fine, but what is going to happen, right, when this company, the Sports India Private Limited, uh, grows and it become a 100 people company? Will my 10 people network will suffice for this growth? And I would like to showcase you that no, it is not the case. We are going to get some new business requirements if we grow in terms of headcount, because with people, number of devices are also going to increase, right? So now I am going to say, if I am saying people, basically you just understand people plus devices, right? We are going to do some brainstorming on new business requirements, and we will try to understand a little bit about Sports India campus building where these 100 people will be sitting around, and this is going to be very, very interesting. Believe me, I just taught this class to more than 200, 300 people, right? In Cisco also. And the response was very, very good. Then we are going to talk about requirement analysis, because this is one of the most important things. Without understanding the requirement, if you start doing something, you will be at loss. Believe me. Then from these requirements, we are going to talk about high level design, right? How to convert requirement into high level design. We will be talking about new design based on these requirements. And if time permits, we are going to understand some new term. What is the greenfield versus brownfield, top down versus bottom up design approach? Believe me, these are just the terminology. You already have information about it. So if you give me your next 1 hour and 20 to 30 minutes, these concepts are going to be with you forever, right? I know it is 8 p.m. in India here, and you are already done with your dinner. If that is the case, maybe a cup of coffee is required, right? Because we will be talking a lot in terms of network design today. Having said that, let's move to our first board where we'll be talking about where we left in the last class. A little recap, right? So as you all know that we discussed about a big network, which is enterprise network, which consists of a big campus in Delhi, right? Which consists of several branches all over India. You can see Bangalore is right here. You can see Hyderabad is right here. And I have incorporated the Mumbai office as Mumbai data center, because what I have done while building this Sports India network, and this is the network of Sports India, you can say in 2024, full-fledged enterprise network. I have moved most of the servers from my campus into this data center, and that is why this has become the center of data, right? We have a complete wide area network connectivity, which is responsible to connect all these branches together, right? And we have a totally dedicated data center network here. So in the last class, I specifically mentioned that we are not going to work on data center network, which is a which is integral part of the enterprise network, right? We are not going to talk about WAN also, which is also a network which you see in enterprise network, right? Wide area network. I think you are all aware of SD-WAN, right? Which is the WAN technology. You all aware of BGP VXLAN. You all aware of ACI, which is the data center technology. We are not going to talk about it. We are going to talk about it. We are going to talk about only and only campus network. Because if you consider the Bangalore branch, there are number of employees. We need to create or design a network for them, for Hyderabad also, for Pune also. Not for the Mumbai, because in Mumbai we are running data center. There is a huge campus in Delhi because we have more than one building. So in the last class, we discussed all these things step by step. Why I am having this house here? Because I want connectivity from my home. Why this guy is here? Because this guy is the customer of Sports India and he want to access the website of Sports India, right? We discussed a lot of requirement with respect to all these things, right? So this was a little recap. And now let's talk about where are we with respect to this complete course right now. Okay, if you see this, when we divided our campus network design, the big problem into multiple pieces, you all know that we should understand the basics of computer networking. We should understand customer requirement and we should be able to analyze them. We should be more comfortable towards layer 2 and layer 3 design and a little bit about edge design. In today's class, as you all know, this is not the class for the foundation. We will be talking about some of the concepts, but not to depth. We will be talking about customer requirements and why these requirements are so important. And to analyze them is really mandatory, necessary to build any design. We will be talking a little bit about layer 2 also of a campus network. Having said that, let's start seeing once again when we were in 2007, how the network of Sports India was looking, right? So we had our characters also, Anjali and Rahul, or you all know them, right? And Anjali is telling the story about 2000 people, sorry, only 10 people in 2007. These were only the business requirements, right? The business requirement was website of Sports India should be up, app should work. These are the same app. Remember FTP, HRMS, right? Right? Internet connectivity should be up and running. CapEx and OpEx, which we understood in the last class, should be low. There must be an option from the work from home. And in this small network with one Wi-Fi router, with one little switch, right? And I'm not sure which company switch is there. It is a local switch. It is highly unmanned, means you cannot log into it. You are just connecting the devices and everything is working fine. You know about all these switches, right? We have internet connectivity, and this was capable enough to cater the requirement of 10 people, right? Which were working inside a room, or maybe 12 or 13 devices. That is it. And we studied about the technologies involved. This is just looking like your home network also, right? So believe me, the guy who come and fix your internet connectivity at your home, he knows all this technology. He knows a little bit of layer 2, which is LAN, right? He knows a little bit of wireless. He knows how to set up DSCP, DNS. He knows a little bit about net. Although he knows how to configure them, I'm not sure whether he might be knowing the technology in depth, right? But he knows how to configure them, and he come and fix your network also if there is some problem. You know a little bit of routing because sometimes we need to configure a few routes here also. You know a little bit of edge security also means we can create some access list or firewall rules also in this little router. And he knows how to make this router a VPN head end also. What is the meaning of VPN? And we will be talking about it. Now, this was very good network with respect to 10 people. Now the company is growing, right? And we reached at in the era of 2009 and 2010. This company is seeing a lot of changes. And from 10 people, they are now actually having around 70 to 80 people. And if you consider the devices, these are way more than 70, means around 90 to 100 devices now we are talking about. If that is the case, how this network is going to change. And this is the journey we want to learn, right? Believe me, as we go from 10 people to 100 people, business requirements are going to change. We move from 100 people to 2000 people, there are going to be some more requirement. And when we reach 2024, there are going to be many more requirements, right? And that is why the technology is evolving. We started from the VLAN, then STP come, right? Then we moved to the VXLAN also, and for in some of the enterprise project also you see the VXLAN technology implemented, although this technology is dedicated to data center, but nowadays in many of our design we see that the VXLAN technology is also incorporated or also part of an enterprise network. So without delaying anything, right? Let's talk about what are the business changes or the requirement changes when we move from 10 to 100 people, right? So now, first of all, before thinking what are the requirement changes, do you really think that this network can be sufficient, right, for 100 people or devices, right? Let's see that what is going to be the problem. The first thing first is this router is going to be a choking point. What is the meaning of choking point? This router, little router, is having some capacity, right? It can handle incoming traffic and outgoing traffic at a specific rate. If that rate is more, this router will not, this router wouldn't understand, right, what to do with the traffic because it doesn't have that capacity. And we are now talking about that more and more laptops are connected to it. Although this wired traffic is coming, right? Maybe you have incorporated more servers because now you have hundred of devices in your network. If that is the case, this router is the major bottleneck of your network. If you are sending the traffic, if the traffic is more than the capacity of this Wi-Fi router, it is going to crash, right? And we are seeing all this thing. If this router is crashed, your CEO who wants to work from home definitely can't come, right, and enter your enterprise from outside. This traffic flow is not possible because your router is down. First thing first, right? This is the problem. The second problem you see in this network is what about the switch, right? These small holes in the switch, you all know that these are the ports where we exactly connect our Ethernet wire into. If you count them, this is 12 are here and 12 are here. And now we are talking about 90 to 100 devices. How this little switch will able to incorporate or can connect more than 90 because it is having only 12 or it means 12 plus 12, 24 ports. Definitely it is not right, right? And another question is, suppose if I buy a new switch also, maybe two also, how I am going to connect it? Whether if I connect them just back to back, is it going to create some problem? We need to think now, right? So the basic requirement of this business are not able to meet with respect with this network because most of the time we see this router is down and website is down and this is one of the major requirement. If we talk about app should work, if we do not increase the number of ports, how can we can incorporate or how can we can introduce new devices or new desktop which can communicate with this server, right? And now company CEO is saying that interesting, I need to increase little bit of capex. Previously, he was saying we should be loan capex. The meaning is the amount which we invest, the big amount which we invest for the long term in the company, right, on these routers and switches, it should always be less, and that is why we were having only one router. But now he is saying that we can have more than one router. It should be okay. It should be fine, right? So this requirement is also gone, right? Instead of low capex, this guy is saying, okay, take some money, but my network should work because if Sports India is down, the website is down, it is going to impact my business, right? Now, work from home is also down. So these were the previous requirement and we were not able to meet them with this network equipments, with this network design, because my size of this organization has grown in terms of number of people, number of devices, as simple as that, right? Now let's move to the next board to see what is going to happen if we replace some of the things, right? So what we are doing here right now, we have replaced our router, the Wi-Fi router, with this router, right? We purchased a router and this is capable of doing routing. It means that it can connect network number one with network number two, or it can route the traffic. As simple as that. Now this router is not the Wi-Fi router. Previous router was Wi-Fi router plus uh, it was doing normal routing also, right? And now instead of one switch, I have two switches, right? Or maybe I can have one more switch, or maybe two more switch, or maybe three more switch, right? So that I can have enough number of ports. But if I am saying that we have 100 people, right, it is not the case that all the 100 people will be connected over these switches, right? Maybe the 50 laptops, whatever I am having, they can connect to a wireless device, and this wireless device is known as access point. So when you are into your campus network, when you go to office, just start notice few things, right? You will see some device on the roof, right? And those are access points. When you open your laptop, this access point is sending some information towards you, some network towards you, which is known as SSID, and you connect to that network, right? Previously, we were connecting directly to the router itself, which is the Wi-Fi router, which is also at our home. But now, around more than 15-20 device can connect to this access point, right? And the remaining device can connect to these switches. If you are new to the wireless, believe me, my website has complete wireless course. And most of you are part of the lifetime membership, right? Most of you have yearly membership plan with you. Guys, just have a look at it, because if you want to learn the campus network, wireless is one of the most important piece of it. We will be talking about a little bit about it, but this sessions are not dependent on the technology, right? We or the sorry, the foundations or the fundamental, because we presume that we are already good with the foundations, and that is why we are learning a little bit of design now. So we have introduced a new router here. We have introduced access point. Maybe not one. I am showcasing you here one. Maybe you can have another access point where 15 more people can connect. So 30 people can connect here, and maybe you can have another access point where 15 more can connect. So 15 laptops can connect directly right here, right? And the remaining 45 ports you can have with respect to these switches, and you can say, Mr. Vishnu, 24 plus 24 is just 48. I am just saying you can have another switch also here. But the question here is how you are going to connect it. See, just be in that era, just be in that 2010 phase, right? When this network was evolving, right? You do not have any guide, suppose, right? How you are going to do. So they have one engineer who was not a network engineer at all, right? And who is telling all this? Anjali is sharing all this story about Sports India, right, to Mr. Rahul, because she know how this network has grown over a period of time. They both are in 2024, but they want to learn the journey of this network, how it has grown, right? Sanjali is saying there was only one guy and who was not even the network engineer, but he knows little bit things. So he bought one or two more switches. He bought another router. He didn't have any idea which router to buy. He didn't have any idea which access point to buy, right? And his boss was saying, do not spend much money. So he just bought any unmanaged switch, which we are seeing here. And then he connected switch 1 with switch 2, and maybe switch 2 with switch 3. As simple as that, right? But here is the problem. He is introducing more problems into the system. Why? Suppose in this case, if the switch 1 goes down, right? When everything is down with respect to this complete network, right? Most of the access points are connected to the switch 1, right? Most of the servers are connected. If these are connected to switch 2, you all know the traffic path for this server or this desktop machine is from switch 2 to switch 1, because we have only one cable connected here, or maybe we can have two cable, but still, if switch 1 goes down, everything is down with respect to network. Mr. CEO cannot access the company resources, right? It's a problem. Interesting. Another problem is, if you can see right here, if this router goes down, everything again goes down, right? Then you must be thinking, Mr. Vishnu, weren't these problem part of the previous network also? Yes, but that was the small network. Suppose this switch, there was only one Wi-Fi router, one switch. What we can do, right, we can have a replacement switch. Means if there is a problem with the switch, just replace it. It's a just 2 minute job. Just connect all the things and everything will be up and running. And this company was small at that point of time, right? Interesting. The whole sole point is, when you are growing, if you are connecting on your own, if you do not have any idea what you are doing, then it is going to give lots and lots of problem. You can call these a single point of failure. If switch 1 goes down, nothing is accessible. If router goes down, nothing is accessible. As simple as that, right? Now, if I talk about more, little bit about uh, from wireless perspective, if you are new to wireless, let me give you some background. If you see here what we have done, from when we had a network of 10 people only, we have this Wi-Fi router. Now this Wi-Fi router is replaced with two different things, two different devices. One is my access point, the other one is the router. As simple as that, right? We have placed access point right here, we have placed router here, we have a switch here. And what is the job of this access point? It is just giving you the facility to connect into a Wi-Fi network by sending a signal, or by sending something which is known as SSID, Service Set Identifier. When you open your laptop is capable of identifying the SSIDs, and you can connect to it. On air, your messages are going to flow. How these messages flows over air is one of the most interesting thing which I have explained in the wireless foundation course. Just have a look at it. Very, very interesting. Once this reaches to this access point whole sole job is to convert these messages into wired messages, right? Means Ethernet message, so that it can flow over this wire, so it can understand it and it can send wherever it wants to go, maybe on google.com, right? But if you are little bit from the wireless background, you know that if we have multiple access points, it is very difficult to manage many access points. For example, if you consider a floor which is quite big, where more than 500 people are there, right? You will see many access point there, maybe around 50 or more than 50 access point. If that is the case, how you are going to manage these 50 access point? And that is where we have a device which is known as wireless LAN controller, right? I'm just giving you the perspective that if this access points are huge, so many, then we need to manage them using a WLC, right? We will little bit talk about the wireless infrastructure also, but the whole sole point is, if you see an access point, if you go and check the rear part of it, you have to connect a wire cable into it. It means that starting point means from the access point to laptop, everything is wireless, but after access point, everything is wired. It means that wired network is so important, because eventually your wireless network is running on top of it, right? So this is what something I would like to give you the background in terms of wireless. If I talk about now, what is going to happen if this guy who do not know much networking, he has put another switch here, and this is unmanaged switch, and he is quite a bit creative. So now he see that connecting switches in this manner is not giving any results, right? Because if this switch fail, because everything the data is coming from this to this guy is failed, this is behaving as a single point of failure, right? So he is doing some extra thinking, right? Although he doesn't know much about networking, but he's saying that if I connect three switches like this, switch 1, switch 2, and switch 3, it is going to give me more path. For example, suppose if this switch 2 or this server wants to communicate to somebody, right, on internet, then one path is like this, and the other path, let me draw it using another color. It will be like maybe like this, right? So if anything goes down, means if this link goes down here, we will be having another link. But here is the problem. When he connected everything like this, believe me, nothing was working in the system. So the Mr. Network Engineer, and this is the story told by Anjali to Rahul, that once there was a big outage. The meaning of the big outage is for considerable period of time this website was not up and running. Even the people inside this company itself, means inside this floor itself, right? They were not able to reach out to each other. Even the applications are not working. Internet connectivity is not there. Work from home, just leave it, because everything, nothing is working. And then this guy had no idea about it, that what exactly is happening. He just connected these three unmanaged switch in this fashion, in this topology. And I'm pretty sure, because many people are sitting here, right? You all know that what is the problem. I am saying unmanaged low quality switch, because Sports India was not able to spend money or the quality of these switches, right? They bought just pretty low budget switches, right? And which are unmanaged, means this guy cannot even log into these switches and see what is the problem. But one thing he noticed was that whenever he connect the third switch like this, right? All the switches were producing a great sound, that they are working at a great speed, right? And I know many of you have figured out the problem, that this problem is actually something called layer 2 loop, right? Definitely, I am not going to go down deeper into this, but try to understand, right? When we were growing, right, as a with respect to number of employees, we are facing lots and lots of problem, right? So give a little bit idea about this loop. Let me take you to the cleaner board a little bit right here, right? And let me talk about it a little bit, right? So what happens when you have a single switch which is connected with multiple hosts, right? And one host want to send a message to maybe B or C. You all know this guy is going to send a ARP message, which is the broadcast message, and switch, when it sees the broadcast message, it is going to send it on all the other ports except the one on which it was received. You all know about it, right? And if we have another switch connected, then this broadcast message will be coming here. If we have another switch connected, this broadcast message will come here. And if we're connecting like this, then the broadcast message will be here too. It means that we are just creating the loop like this. What is the job of the switch? You all know, to do the switching. Whenever it receive a layer 2 frame, it is going to forward it as soon as possible, right? And that is what this switch is doing. Whenever it receives the frame, broadcast frame, it is going to send. Whenever this switch receives the frame, it is going to forward, right? And that is why these are making a lot of noise. The meaning of noise is every switch is at 100% of utilizing it 100% of CPU or central processing unit. You all know about it, right? But why did this problem happen at the first place? Because this switches, whatever this network engineer bought, those switches doesn't have any mechanism to stop this kind of looping. You all are from the networking background and you know that if you buy a simple switch, simple managed switch from Cisco, this guy is capable of stopping that loop because these guys are running a specific technology which is known as spanning tree protocol, which is designed to stop all kind of loops, right? But if somebody is not aware of that, see the problem, right? And now this guy has gone to Mr. CEO and he has said that I am not sure what is going on, right? I'm not the network engineer. Now it is out of my hand, right? I cannot support more than 10 people here because if I introduce new switches, if I introduce anything new, now it is creating a lot of problem and now I do not have any idea. And this time Mr. CEO of Sports India is saying it is high time to hire a network engineer, and that is how company grows, right? Right? So they hired a network engineer, and he specifically mentioned the same thing that the topology which you are using, it is a loop topology, and because you have bought unmanaged switch which are not capable of having this STB protocol, you are running a loop. And if you are running a loop, every switch is doing some unnecessary work in just forwarding these broadcast messages. And that is why every switch is at 100% capacity. It is not forwarding the frames which it needs to forward, right? Means the traffic from this laptop towards the internet and so on. And that is why the 100% CPU is there. Now Mr. CEO is saying, I am ready to spend more. Just replace all these switches because at the end of the day, my company is growing. Everybody wants to buy a product from Sports India. And the website is down. If website is down, my entire business is down because the total the revenue of this business, the profit of this business is dependent on this network infrastructure, which is handled by a guy who does not know networking. And that is why this guy has hired a network engineer, right? Very, very interesting. Now, let's see what extra is going on now. This engineer, which they have recently hired, network engineer like us, right? He's saying because business is totally dependent on the networking and infrastructure, let's sit together. Let's come up with the business requirement. Let's come up with the technical requirement. If we can understand the business and technical requirement, then we can design the network which can handle around 100 people, 100 devices. Sports India will be up and running. Everybody was so excited and everybody was on the table and they have come up with these business and technical requirements. But before that, I would like to tell you a story that without requirements, if you buy or if you do something, it is going to be a loss, right? So suppose we have a friend, right? And it actually happened with somebody close to me. He wanted to buy a car, right? He has a good family, means family of two people, right? But he takes some impulsive decisions, right? He wanted to buy a car, and at a fair he saw Mini Cooper, right? And he just went to the showroom. He just purchased the car because he wanted to buy. It was a sporty looking car, right? And he had to sell his previous car so that it can bring the new car. And this sports car was tremendous, right? It was a head turner, means wherever he was going, people were looking. It was fast, right? It is everywhere, right? So this guy had bought this car, but he didn't understand that why he wanted to buy this car, right? He had a previous car which was working fine, but he still wanted a new car. He purchased it, and here is the problem. After 5 or 10 days, he was planning a trip with his kids, right? And when the entire family was there, maybe his mother, father, and his his wife, this trip was totally messed because that car didn't have space to accommodate everybody, right? The number one requirement was that this is a family guy. He should buy a car, right? Which can carry, which can, which can have the ability so that these people can sit into that, right? After some time, he was noticing the ground clearance of that car, right? Maybe it is not the Mini Cooper, maybe something else, and it was so low. The place where he was living is in India, where you see unnecessary speed bumps at the road, and those speed bumps are really high. There are a lot of potholes also there, right? So most of the time, his car get a lot of things from the ground, right? After some time, he got frustrated because this car was taking a lot of fuel, right? Although it was good, it was running fast, but it is of no use now, right? With respect to family. The whole sole point of this story is understand the requirement. So what this guy did, he just sold this car and maybe bought a SUV or a seven-seater, right? Which fulfill all the requirements. So the whole sole point of this story is if you do not know the requirement, don't take impulsive decision. Just analyze those requirements. And this is what this guy is doing. He has come up with all these requirements. Although some of the requirements were same which we had seen in the previous network also. The number one requirement which you are seeing here, website should be up and running. Of course, it should be up and running. No problem with respect to that, right? There is no doubt about it. The second thing is support minimum 100 people or devices. If that is the case, we know now we have to introduce or we have to buy new switches, right? We have to buy new routers. We have to buy access points also. As simple as that, right? And here your capex is going to increase, right? So we want to create a network which can support 100 people or devices. We do not want to see single point of failure in this network, right? It means that we need to introduce some more devices. We need to introduce some software mechanism also that if something gets failed, we should be always be having some other path to go. The entire network should not be dependent on one device. If that fails, everything is out. Another thing is, which is interesting requirement now. Sports India network engineer is saying now we would think about how these employees are divided, right? And this is coming directly from the CEO that we have different employees, right? Different kind of employees. Some work for engineering, right? This is my core team because engineers are there which are building the Sports India, right? Which are is building the Sports India website, which are taking care of Sports India website, which is the whole sole application on which this entire business is running. Engineering is important, right? So he has this Sports India has currently now maybe 10 to 15 core engineers which are working on this Sports India website. They have around 10 to 12 people because you need to market your thing, right? You need to market your products, and that is why they have sales and marketing team. They have few guys in HR also, right? They have a factory where many people are working, right? So overall, if you see that they, or maybe I'm just writing 10 to 15, maybe you can, we can say 20 to 30 or 30 to 40, whatever, right? The number should reach to 90 to 100 because we are talking about 90 to 100 devices or the people now. And now that the employees are divided into multiple departments. See, this is going to be the same thing. Right now, I think you can relate now because you know networking well. You know, I'm talking about virtual LANs, right? I am designing a campus network. You know these little bit of technology because you are from this background, but try to understand when you are going to design a network SD-WAN, right? It is really, really important to understand the basics of SD-WAN, the foundations of SD-WAN. so that when such requirement comes in SD-WAN, you know where what exactly customer is talking about. Customer is going to talk in these terminology. He will be saying different departments, right? You need to understand. If he's talking about it, then he must be interested in just dividing his employees. But why, right? Because this network engineer is saying that if you have a one switch, if you connect one guy from sales, maybe two engineers on the same switch, right? If engineer send a message to another engineer, the first thing it is going to do then ARP, this ARP will be coming here, here, and here also. Why to bother these sales guys with this ARP when these engineers are talking amongst each other, right? That is why they are creating different networks in the same switch, which is just means if you take this port, two ports, and make them as a network, it is going to be your virtual LAN. For somebody who do not understand virtual LAN, these are the different departments, as simple as that, right? Interesting. Now, this guy is saying no loops in layer 2 network because we bought unmanaged switched low quality switches, right? We have to buy because we are talking about an enterprise, right? Or a campus network, or an enterprise whose whole soul business will come if this network is running. We can't rely on these unmanaged switches, low quality switches. Let's buy Cisco switches, right? And that is where company CEO is also saying that is perfectly fine. I am ready to spend money now, right? Because this is going to be my core business. My core business won't going to be run if we don't have these devices, right? Now let's talk about minimum downtime for application. What is the meaning? We have this application, right? For example, if this particular engineer is working on Sports India website and he is using a particular application like Apache to build this website, right? His experience to reach to these servers should be good, right? His experience means if some HR guy is working on the HRMS system, his experience should be good. Whenever it opens this HRMS application, it should open, it should quite fast, right? Every application has some requirement. If this is a network application, means if you have a client somewhere and you have a server or application running somewhere, then there is an infrastructure in the middle, which is your network infrastructure, and it is going to add some delay. This every application has some requirement with respect to delay, with respect to jitter, with respect to packet loss, right? And that is what we are talking about. This application should always be up and running because your network should support their minimum requirement so that these applications should not go down. And mostly, whenever we go and design any campus network, the first thing which customer says, any network, right? You go to design a campus network of maybe a healthcare industry, a bank, anything, right? Customer will come up with a list of application. Look, Mr. Designer, these are my applications. I do not want them to be down because my business is totally dependent on it, right? And these are the biz application requirement. And as a network designer, you need to consider those things. One of the most important things, right? This was previous requirement also always up internet, but right now we see that we have taken only one connection. If what kind of this requirement is, right? Always up internet. If we have taken only one service provider, which is Airtel, it is providing me internet services. Airtel is down, everything is down, right? With respect to internet. How can I do that? Maybe now this designer, this network engineer is saying, now maybe we want to look more than one service provider, one Airtel, one Geo, right? So that if one goes down, we have another one. Why not three also, right? If we are so dependent on the internet, let's take more than two service providers. The eighth requirement is now low OPEX, right? You don't see low CapEx here, right? Because now Mr. CEO is ready to spend money here, right? But he's saying low OPEX. What is the meaning? He's saying, I am ready to spend money. But whatever you are building, whatever the design you are coming up with, please make that design simple so that it is easy to troubleshoot, so that I need to hire less staff to troubleshoot all these things, right? Hiring a staff, working daily on some or spending money on the daily things, right? That comes in OPEX. And he's saying, I'm ready to spend one time, but make sure my OPEX in long term is less, right? Another business requirement. It's a new requirement, right? Because previous was low capex and opex, and now it is saying low opex. Another interesting thing, he's saying, see, previously we have a network of only 10, right? We were developing it. We never thought about that network can grow to 100 or 200 people, right? There was no vision involved. We couldn't consider the scalability, right, at that point of time. But now that, with this new network engineer, he's saying whatever we are going to build, we need to consider, right, that more employees are going to join. Whatever we are going to design, right, we should consider that maybe in 1 year, 2 years, two to 300 more employee will join. If that is the case, right now, what we are doing, we are just eliminating this network of 10 people and we are building a new network design, right? It shouldn't be the case that if 100 people more come, we need to just scrap all these devices and we are creating another network. No, it is going to be again a lot of uh, problem for the CEO because he has to again spend money as a capex, right? And he's saying if there are more employees, our network should be capable enough to handle this, right? Now try to understand. We are talking about one of the important pillar of network design, which is scalability, right? We are making our design futuristic. If more employee comes, I not need to change a lot in design, but my existing design will be able to onboard the new employees also, right? Another thing he's talking about is network should come up on its own. What is the meaning? If a specific part of the network is going down, right, we should have few things with respect to it so that network can comes up on its own, right? For example, if one active HSRP goes down, then we have already backup, right? Here is the principle here we are talking about. This principle is resiliency, right? My network has become more resilient. And if I talk about no single point of failure, it means that I am introducing more devices, right? I am having redundant devices. This is another pillar of network design that you should involve redundancy into the system. Although these are very much closely related with each other, but there is a difference between resiliency and redundancy. We will be talking about it. I am just taking some names, some terms. Okay. So if you are preparing or if you want to prepare for the CCDE exam, I'm not saying that this is one of the basic course in the design, right? As I said, I would love to walk with you for the 10 to 15 kilometers, but if you are want to give the CCDE exam, see, in that book, you will see the terms a lot. But if you see this course, you understand those terms from the core, right? You know what is happening with respect. What is exactly scalability? What is resiliency? What is redundancy, right? And again, this was the old requirement, work from home. It is still there because sometimes some people want to work from home. We should be incorporated that. Then we should be having skillful network team. This is again the new requirement, right? Because now Mr. CEO, Mr. Network Engineer doesn't want, right? That he don't want to be dependent on only one guy, so that he want to have his team of skillful network engineers, right? As simple as that. So now we just understood what is the business requirement, but now let's see how we are going to achieve those requirements. Means there are many people here who know the solution of it, right? But see, the process is going to be same. I am teaching you the process, right? I am teaching you process how to build a campus network of 100 people. Technologies will be changed, things will be changed, devices will be changed, but this process is going to be same. Understand the business and technical requirement. If you do not get them, ask as many as question you want. You won't believe, when we start designing a network, whenever a project comes, right, we have one specific workshop, and sometimes this workshop goes from 5 to 7 hour also. Sometimes we go on site for that, for maybe 2 days, just to understand the business and technical requirement, nothing else, right? Sometimes customer is technical, for which you are working, for which you are creating this network. Sometimes he's very technical. He can exactly tell you what you need to do. Sometimes customer do not have any idea of the topology. He will say, I have different departments. You need to figure out, I am talking about VLANs, or he's talking about VLANs, right? So a whole sole point is I am teaching you the process. Whether you design SD-WAN, whether you, it is going to be the same. So I was talking about the requirement workshop. Sometime it goes to 2 days, means 5 hours one day, 5 hours other day. We just talk about their business. We just talk about their requirement. We just talk about their applications. What are the current traffic flows? Means if they have existing network, we try to understand what do they have in the existing network, what do they want, why they are changing from their current infrastructure. Sometimes you get that they are coming up with a new branch, a new campus. Then we need to get a chance to build everything from the scratch. And if you are building everything from the scratch, that is your greenfield deployment. If you are doing some changes in the existing network, means the network is already there, that is the brownfield deployment, right? Overall, the most important thing, until unless you do not get the requirements, right? Ask as many as questions. Try to figure. Otherwise, it is going to be the problem. You will buy a car, and after some time, you will regret that this car is not working for my family. It is not working for me. Same thing, right? So what we are going to do now, we will be talking these business and technical requirements one by one, and with our knowledge itself, we will see that how we can convert these requirements, business requirements, to high level design. Having said that, oh my God, it's already 52 minutes. Now, I just want to take a pulse. Guys, are you still here? Anybody say yes? If there is a question, if you want to add something, anyone? Okay, at least tell me, are you able to hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
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 And you are awake also, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. So, guys, just ask for a coffee. It's already 52 minutes. I can understand hearing something. I'm not sure whether you are feeling good about it, but believe me, uh, uh, these are important things. So, if you are in your career stage of 5 to 10 years, I would say just start seeing the big picture. Just try to understand how we can design the network. See, we are just taking the baby steps here, right? It is just the second class, but as we move forward, right, we will be introducing new requirements, and we will be seeing that how this design, right? Because now we are starting looking at one interesting point, the scalability, right? We want a futuristic design so that it can involve future employees, future devices also. And thank you so much, Gaurav and Lalan, right, that you raised your hand. Please, Mr. Gaurav, please do ask your question. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Vishnu,
Mhm,
for explaining that wonderful, campus design information. I
mhm,
just wanted to ask, is there any specific scenario where we should not propose that unmanaged switches, or specific, like we need to, if let's say if customer doesn't have a budget like to take any managed switches, so
mhm.
can we connect that unmanaged switches directly to the firewall, and if they have a small network?
Yeah, definitely we can have unmanaged switch, but just take, for example, some of the unmanaged switch are also capable of doing STP. One of my biggest problem with the unmanaged switch is that we cannot see what is going on inside it because these are unmanaged. You cannot log in into them, right? So whatever you think, you feel that this is the problem with respect to this, you tell the customer. The second thing which I feel is if you come up with the topologies, right, do not let them make the physical loop in the system. For example, do not let them connect two links or maybe two links between two switches, which is again a loop, or basically three triangle shape, right, in which the switches are connected. But if you have only one or two switches, although the design says that you should not, but if you are low in budget, you can always say that yes, one or two switches should be fine, right? And one more thing, Gaurav, right? Cost is one of the major design influencer. You have all the things in your belt, you know all the capabilities of the technology, right? But if customer says, if somebody says, I do not have money for it, right? Then you cannot do it, right? You have to fit your design into the cost shoes also. But yes, the major drawback of unmanaged switches, if you connect or if you create a layer 2 loop, it is going to be a problem. The second thing, as I mentioned, it is these are unmanaged, you will not be able to understand what's going on. Gaurav.
So we should avoid the two cables connectivity just for that sake of if one cable is switch will be active.
I lost you, Gaurav.
Hello?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, my question is that
Mhm.
we should avoid two cable connectivity between two unmanaged switches. Like I'm considering that if I'm connecting two cables,
Mhm.
with two switches each other,
Yeah.
so I'm considering that if my cable goes down, so still my data traffic will be going on with the help of second cable, right? So I should avoid that
Yes.
because of that.
You are right.
Okay.
For example, means in a simple setup like this also, means if you have this switch 1, switch 2, unmanaged, no STP, if you just connect them, both the switch will reach to 100% because the problem is same. This guy is going to send the R, it will go here, come back on this, and again there is a loop, and you won't be able to see what's going on unless if you see the sound, you can make sure that yeah, this guy is working very hard. Gaurav.
So we will be facing the same scenario in term of uplink. Like let's say the switch number B will be connecting to the switch number A
Hmm.
through uplink.
Hmm.
So in that scenario, we should avoid the two cables connectivity.
Also, yes. So basically, you are saying that we have two switch also here, and these are
Yeah.
connecting like this. See, still now you do not have any loop in the system. See, if you connect these two switches, then it is going to be a problem. So that is what I am saying. If you have unmanaged switch, it is your responsibility that you should not make this physical loop in the system. If there is a physical loop, then your frame will be revolving. Gauravji,
Got it. Thank you.
perfect. Mr. Lalan, please do ask your question and thank you so much for asking questions.
Sure, yeah, thank you, Vishnu. Yeah, so the first of all, when I see the 12 of those bullet point, right?
Mhm,
So I thought, oh, that's my daily work. That's what I'm doing. So why I'm thinking on this, or why I'm spending my time. But when I close my eyes and then I start thinking, can I think all those 12 bullet point in my head
mhm,
when I need this? Then that's the things is pick up on my mind. No, I don't know those things. So all these, even though this is a baby step, but it's a crucial
mhm,
for the designing part. So that's my take on there. And then also I would like to ask you that the minimum downtime for the apps, if you can explain a little bit on that. So
Definitely.
those are the
So,
things. Thank you.
Lalan, thank you so much for appreciating the approach, because these are the steps. Because I know that people are from 15 years of experience, also, I can see, right? And but they are sitting quiet. They are getting something out of it. It is my uh, uh, I feel that the approach is good. So the question which you are asking, the second question, which is minimum downtime, do not worry about it. For now, I just mentioned that there are some applications which have some requirement. For example, okay, and this is good question. Let me go a little bit deeper into it, right? So suppose in your company, in your office, you are having these switches, right? One switch is connected with the server, right? And this is the server which is hosting a software which is responsible to run your one application through which you chat, or basically through which you talk, maybe a soft phone, right, inside your organization. And here is a client. So this application says that if client want to make a phone call to maybe anybody else, then the time between this client, for example, we call this as a latency, from here to here, it should reach within less than 150 milliseconds, suppose. But you have created a network such that this is a bottleneck. This guy takes a lot of time in processing the packet. Maybe this guy takes more than 200 seconds, right? And if the client want to reach the server, right, this application is going to fail because it has a minimum requirement of 150 milliseconds. There are many such applications, right? If you do not meet this requirement, then it is going to be a problem. We need to understand these application more closely, and that is what I mentioned, that when you go and design a particular network, customer comes up with a list of applications. See, 5 applications, very important for my organization, and these are their requirement. We need to take care of that. How we are going to do it? By implementing quality of service, by implementing some more things, redundant paths. It is up to us. Lalanji.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, sure. And I understood now. Thank you.
Perfect. So now I think we all understood, and first of all, thank you so much. At least two people have asked question, and if anything comes to your mind, guys, please do ask. Just wait a minute, guys. Just wait a minute. So now what we are going to do is, let's try to understand now what exactly. So sorry for this. I want to move this. So let me. Interesting. Yeah. So before moving further with respect to that, how to convert these requirements into a specific design, right? I would like you to understand one very interesting thing. And most of the architects, most of the designer doesn't do not know about it, right? We want to understand how cabling is happened, right? Or cabling is done in our office. Let's try to be curious with respect to that too. For example, if I see this building right here, right? If I see uh, this floor, and now I'm presuming that almost 10 to 100 employees, whatever we are talking about of the Sports India, and Anjali is talking this thing, right? They all are on one specific floor. For example, they have a complete building. They have taken the second floor for these 100 employees on rent. So we are seeing this second floor right here. We have lots and lots of cubes here. Laptops are here. IP phones are here. Although I am not able to see access point, but presume that we have access points also. In office, you see the screen. In office, you see some rooms for some big guys, right? We always sit here. Big guys sit in the rooms, right? So all The 100 people are on this floor. Now the question arises, if you do not see much cables, right? And we all know that if I have an IP phone which is right here, if you see at the back, it has an Ethernet cable which is coming out from this IP phone and going into this wall. And this wall has a wall jack, maybe RJ45 connector, where we put this simple cable, right? The green color cable, you all know about it. Now, just try to understand what happens. You all know we have access switches, right? Let me change the pan, maybe the green color. We have access switches, right? And these are the switches which are responsible for giving you the access. So whatever the switches we are talking about till now, those are all the access switches because we connect our desktop to them. We connect the AP to them. We connect our servers to them. And for servers, server is getting internet connectivity or server is getting network connectivity because of the switch. And that is why we call them, these switches are access switches, right? But interestingly, if you go to your campus network, you do not see these switches. It means that somebody is planned everything. You do not see cables much. You do not see these switches, right? But if you roam around a complete floor, you will see one specific room, right? And inside that room, you will see some switches filled with cables, right? We call this as a network room. Generally, I call this as a network room. This is not the standard term. But if I see on some of the rooms, right, IDF is written. What is the meaning of IDF? This is intermediate distribution frame, right? Is it frame? I have to check, right? But IDF is something. So on room, this IDF is written. And interestingly, inside this room, we will be having these switches. And from that wall, from that jack, right, where we inserted cable from IP phone, believe me, a cable is coming out from here, maybe going down on the floor, reaching to this switch, or maybe from the top. I'm not sure. If it would have been top, then we must have seen that. So it must be going inside the floor, right? Inside this beautiful looking floor. If you open it, then maybe some cables are running. And then it will be reaching to this room, and then eventually it is connecting, right? Same thing from AP is also, everything is connected like that. Maybe a screen is there, a screen is also connected. Maybe a printer is there, although you cannot see the cable, but this is maybe some servers are in somewhere. They are also connected here because this is the small office. So server are also here. There is no separate data center till now. But when we have 24,000 employees, right, or maybe 50,000 employees, we will be having a separate data center for all the servers, for all the applications, right? So now on, if you go to your office, right? If you see a particular floor, see right now I'm just talking about 100 people in a particular floor, but it could be the case that you have 18 floor building. Every building is part of, every floor every floor belongs to Sports India. If that is the case, we will see this IDF room everywhere on every floor, right? But that is the discussion of upcoming classes. We are taking baby steps from 10 to, we are trying to develop a campus network of 100 people. But try to understand the basic, we know the big picture now, what we are doing. And now we are talking about those small pieces. Once we know what we are trying to big build, and once we know this little bit, all these pieces, we will fit together to know what exactly to design the campus network overall, right? So whenever this time you go to your office, you are in your floor, just try to notice, just try to be curious, just try to visualize this, because this is something which network engineer, network designer should admire, right? This is your work. Although I understand the cabling work doesn't belong to you, but If somebody can come and ask for that, you should have a complete picture about it, right? So I have an interesting story around that too. That uh, uh, I think somebody was telling me the day before yesterday that when we go on the customer side, the Cisco people, they show us everything like that. We are planning this way, we are planning the cables this way, the cables should be coming to the jack panels and all, right? And most of the engineer, the designer will say, okay, other guy will do the job because this is not my job. Sometimes even we do not even have idea what these guys are talking about the cables, right? Or how this entire layout is there, right? I would say be curious. Just try to understand all these things because we it is really fascinating. To me, it's really fascinating, right? How the complete architecture is built up, how the complete cabling is built up, how everything, and that too, one restriction is also there, and it is one very, very interesting restriction. So if we consider a switch, suppose 9400 series switch from Cisco Catalyst switch, right? And if we have if we connect Cat 5 or Cat 6 cable, and if I presume that every interface is of 1 Gbps, this Cat 5K cable cannot be more than 100 meters. Really interesting. So just try to understand, you need to make this room so that it's centralized, so that it has distance not more than 100 meter. 100 meter is really a good distance for a particular floor. So if you put this switch inside this room, it can go till 100 meter here, 100 here, 100 here, and 100 here. So it can cover till 200 meters. 200 meters is a huge distance in terms of any building, right? And if you have 10 gig interfaces, believe me, and you are using cat cables for 10 gig interfaces, the suggested distance is just the 50 meter. I'm talking about copper cables. I'm talking about cat cables. Of course, we can have the SFPs where we can insert our fiber optical cables also that can have the bigger ranges also, but it is going to increase your cost, right? Cat is six, Cat 5 or Cat 6 cables are cheap, quite cheap. Again, cost is coming into picture, right? Again, my request, whenever you go next time to your office, just visualize this thing. It is going to be very interesting. Having said that, let's move. By any moment, if you get any question, just let me know, right? Because even I didn't know about all these things. I met a person, fantastic people, right, in my team, right? And he gave me this idea. It was mind blowing for me. He showed me these rooms, everything, right? I know that because I know that switches must be there somewhere so that these connectivity should be, but I didn't know everything, right? I have a clear picture. If you also have, it is going to be good for you. You will be more confident while going and discussing campus network with anybody. Having said that, Mr. Prakash is having a question. Mr. Prakash, please go ahead and ask your question.
So when you're doing some brown configuration, so like it's already built and it was somewhat you have to go there and build the remaining. So what are the missing parts? How you will do that? Like if there is no information in that, how you do reverse engineering? Those things also, please. Please.
Which information regarding this cabling you are talking about, Prakash?
Regarding a configuration, regarding any setup,
Which is already
the
there.
whole.
Which is already there. You are saying, right?
Yeah.
So you are
Which is
talking
already there,
about
but if there
something
is a missing.
which is brownfield. It means the network is
Yeah.
already there, and you are adding something into it, right?
Yeah, and we doesn't know so let's say they don't have the documentation
Hmm.
in few things. How you do this?
Right. Then basically the initial design workshop, which I was talking about, the requirement collection, right? It is going to be way longer because until and unless you get there, and if you do not get any help from the customer, and that is where the project goes long, right? You have to see the configurations. You from those configuration, you need to build the big picture. You need to build everything from those configuration, those design means what exactly how the traffic flow is going on, right? And if you don't do
Okay.
that, again your requirements are not clear. And if your requirements are not clear, your design is going to be failed. So it is the hard work that we have to do that,
Okay.
Prakash.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And another question, like then right now, all these IoT devices are moving up. So how we are going to handle in the design part,
I will be
both
talking
in the
about it. I will
implementation?
be talking about. So there is going to be separate network. We will be talking about the virtual route or VRF concept, separate network, which is
Okay.
going to be on the same infrastructure. It is coming.
Yeah. Thank you.
It is coming in upcoming classes.
Thank you.
Okay, Prakash. Now let's talk about. Let's talk from. I think we don't have any hand raised now. Okay, so let's move on to the next board here. Okay, so let's move, and here you go. Now we are going to start requirement analysis, and the first requirement was support for minimum 100 people or devices. So now you consider, means if I say 100 people, those are not actually the people who are connecting. Those are the laptops which will be connecting. Maybe these people mobile phones will be there, right? Maybe printers there, maybe servers there, screens are there, right? Which you see, so many things are there. So if there is a company of say 70 people, it might be the case that the number of devices are way more, maybe 100, 120, right? So we are talking about 100 people or the devices. Now what I'm doing here is I am presuming one thing, and which Anjali is also saying, that Sports India, all 100 people are sitting on the second floor of this building. There is no doubt about it, right? So we are designing right now one floor only, and it will be having access points. It will be having a room where all the connections will be coming, right? And we are presuming that the cabling portion and everything else is already done. Okay. So now what is happening with respect to this requirement analysis? We are thinking how to achieve it. So this guy, the network engineer, decided on Cisco, that we want to purchase devices from Cisco. These devices are basically we can use for longer and longer period of time. And few days back, I posted an image from one of the network, right? There was a switch which was running from more than 18 years, right? People have asked a lot of questions. Vishnu, there is no software upgrade. See, people just put it and sometimes they forget about it, right? It was running from last 18 years, and this is the reliability of Cisco devices, right? So this guy has also heard some stories, and we are talking about 2008-10. So he decided on the fact that I would like to go ahead with 48 port switches because I want to cater, or I want to see the future needs also, right? So it is going to give you approximately 100, more than 140 ports, right? And it's not the case that everything of 100 or 200 people will be connecting directly over the wire, right, over this interface, because many laptops, maybe mobile phones will be connecting to this access point, and then these access points will be connecting back to these switches itself, right? Maybe one access point can handle 15 guys, so we have 75 people can connect directly to this, or 75 devices can connect directly to this access point, right? So we have come up with this basic number, although the number of access point requires is highly dependent on the site survey. Maybe some people can go, and I think that thing or a little bit about them we have covered in our wireless course, so you are more than welcome to see it, right? You see all this survey being done by many people, wireless engineer, to know how many access point we are going to get. So we have these 3 different switches we are planning to include, and that is going to that should be sufficient for 100 people, right? Although we are getting some more, or maybe we can have the another switch also, right? If you want to see the future requirements. But there is a choice, right? You have to decide whether you want 3 different switches or whether you want one switch, a modular switch, right? Which is chassis based. And inside the switch, you have multiple line cards. And these line cards are nothing but individual switches, you can say, right? And this guy is having 2 power uh, input. If one fails, then we have another thing, right? This guy can have 2 different processor, which we call SUPs or soup also, right? If one soup goes down, then we have another. But it is not the case that these line cards have individual soups, right? Or the processors. But here is the thing that if you have one switch, then it comes with its own CPU. We call it as one rack unit switch, right? Because it take 1 unit of the rack and we insert it. On what basis you decide whether you need 3 or whether you need 1, right? Cost is one of the major factor here. And for that, you need to understand a little bit about how to stack these switches. If we are talking about 3 single switches, we will be talking about it in upcoming classes. But right now, we have multiple choices as always, right? We need to consider what exactly the customer requirements are. Cisco has given us 2 different choices, whether you can have 3 single switches or 4 single switches or 1 modular switch. And maybe if you need, for example, you can see 4 line cards or 5 line cards already here, but this space is absolutely free, right? But if you want, or if the number of people are increasing, then you can just insert another line card here, right? How to decide what exactly you are going to do. So in the last class, or maybe somewhere around middle, I will be talking about how to decide on the basis of requirement which switch you should go ahead. For that, you need to see the spreadsheets of all these, or basically the capacities of all these switches, and then you need to match those capacities with the customer requirement. See, it used to happen a lot that customer is asking for maybe a switch which can give them the 10 gigabits per second of, or maybe 100 gigabits per second of throughput, but people have sold them maybe terabyte of power, right? Because customer didn't know about it, but now the customer is aware, right? So you need to match his requirement, and then you need to pinpoint what basically you need: one switch, you need 3 switch, or what, right? But to begin with, right, we are just talking about 100 people, right? And now we are seeing that we have, we suppose we have decided with the 3 switches and 5 access point. This should not then, also we would be needing the switch, the router also. So from now on, mostly I will be showcasing these switches with its symbol itself. You all know the switch symbol. I will not be introducing or including the picture of these devices, right? Having said that, let's move to the next board, where we will talk about no single point of failure. And that is why we have basically 2 different picture. Left hand side, this is what you see. Right hand side, what you see in that room, right? So we all know for fact that the cables are running from here to these switches, which are the access switches, right? And previously, somebody was connecting this like this, right? And we are not interested in connect, because this is resulting into the single point of failure, and we want no single point of failure. So we are not going to connect access switches like this. And that is where we need to brainstorm. What do we need to do now? We do not want single point of failure with respect to devices, right? And because if we connect them, we will get the single point of failure. And that is where I am introducing one more layer of switch. And this layer of switch is known as distribution layer because it is distributing the traffic of access switches. For example, something is connecting here, something is connecting here. They both want to communicate with each other. Now they will reach to access switch right here. They will reach to distribution switch and then come back and communicate with each other. The first layer which you are seeing right here, this is your access layer, and this is your distribution layer. What is the benefit, guys? You see that every access point is connecting using two cables, right? If anything happens to this switch, if this switch goes down, suppose my traffic path will be going to be intact, right? If I want to access somewhere here, the internet, and I think we have learned all this thing in the switching class also, and those concepts are going to be very, very useful here. If this guy wants to communicate and this switch is down, definitely you can use the other link and then go out towards internet. No doubt about it. I'm not saying that introduction of this distribution layer can remove all single point of failures, because I need to talk about software also. I need to talk about technologies also, like HSRP, right? For example, if your active HSRP router is right here, and this is your standby, right? Or maybe if you are not running active or basically HSRP protocol totally here, right? And your gateway is on this switch and the switch goes down, you are not able to use the another switch. Means that we need to use some technologies also along with introducing these two switches. Otherwise, it is going to be a problem, right? So the network design is going to be the mixture or the combination of extra devices as well as software or the protocols which we would be using. Do not worry about it. I will be talking about it. Okay. So the last board of today's class is going to be different departments, guys. I think you all know about what these guys are talking, right? They are saying that now we have sales department, marketing department, we have engineering department, right? And HR, one of the most important piece, right? If that is the case, they are saying unnecessary traffic from engineering should not reach to the marketing guys or maybe the HR guys. And that is why what we are going to do, we will be taking some port and we will be making these port as part of what? Sales. We will be taking some other ports. We will be making it part of the marketing. Maybe engineering is right here. What we are doing, we are dividing this switch into multiple VLANs, right? If you do not do it, this switch comes with one VLAN only. If you connect all these guys will be talking with each other. If this guy is sending ARP, it is reaching to everybody else. If we segment it, if one of the computer in the sales department is talking to another guys in the sales department, his ARP message will be only in this domain, which is known as virtual LAN also, right? And then we have the link between the switches. This should be able to take traffic of multiple VLANs, right? It means that what we call such link as, trunk link, right? Because maybe you want to communicate, maybe you have a sales here, you have marketing here, maybe you have sales here also and marketing here also. So if this guy wants to communicate, if this guy, somebody from here wants to communicate somebody here, the traffic path is going to be like this, right? Sales traffic path. Maybe the marketing traffic path is a little bit again like this. So means this link is carrying traffic of multiple VLANs. If that is the case, this is the trunk. See how easy it is for you because you understand VLANs, right? To understand this requirement for the customer. And that is what I'm saying. If you are good with the basics, you can understand what customer want. And eventually, if we have VLANs, if we have trunk, why we won't be having switched virtual interfaces, right? We all know for every, see, what is this VLAN? This is the network. And for a particular network, if you want to come out of the network and want to talk to somebody else, maybe over internet, or maybe if you want to talk from sales to marketing, you need a gateway, right? Because gateway is something from where which you can come out of that network and become, and you can go into the another network. So maybe you will be needing switch virtual interface for all these VLANs here, right? And that switch virtual interface is going to be the default gateway. So VLANs, trunk links, SVIs, whatever you have understood, they are asking everything now in the simple requirement from the customer, different departments. And now this distribution switch is a special switch. It is not just doing only layer 2 things, it is doing way more than that, which is layer 3 also, right? Because it is having, if it is doing routing between multiple VLANs. If you are not aware of all this concept, then I would say it is high time to go and brush up your concept. New to VLANs, trunks, SVI, I have explained it very well in my switching course. Believe me, piece of cake, right? So I do not want to give much more background, but here we have one switch where we have two VLANs. Here we have two VLANs. If VLAN 20 wants to communicate to VLAN 20 here, they need to communicate over this link, and this link, or maybe VLAN 10 wants to communicate to VLAN 10. Basically, different VLAN traffic is going over this trunk interface. We need to connect them and make this interface as trunk. We have this SVIs here also, which is going to be the default gateway. So before next class, I would recommend you to brush up your concept with respect to SVIs, to brush up your concept with respect to VLANs, trunks, ether channel, right? If you know all these things, then we are in the process of developing something good, which is layer 2. We would like to design layer 2 network for these 100 people, considering all these technologies. See, in a simple statement, customer wants everything, right? Interesting. Having said that, I would like to stop here, although I have lots and lots board to cover, but I can see 1 hour 30 minutes is already gone. So I would like to take a pause here. If you guys have any doubt, any question, please ask me. Otherwise, we can call it a day. Anybody, guys? Any doubt? Any questions? Okay, at least tell me I am audible.
Yes, you are, and I do have a question.
Yeah, please go ahead, Lalan.
The question is, I want to know like what should be the next classes or next slides, so that I'll a little bit prepare ahead, and it should be easy for
Don't
me.
worry. Basically, if you know for example, know a little bit of routing basics also, like static routing, OSPF, and little bit of switching, that is more than enough to require. And the concept like HSRP, I forgot to mention, right? First hop redundancy protocol, like specifically HSRP, if you do, it is going to be fine. Tracking means you can use track to know if whether my interface is up or not, and on the basis of this track you can make your active router as passive in HSRP. All these things are going to be important. See, all these are the foundations, basics. And Lalan, if you see my switching course, you are already part of the lifetime access of my
Yes,
website.
I am.
Just go and check. Means just listen at 1.5 speed and you would be good. Don't worry. Okay,
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
perfect. Anybody else? I do not see any other hand raise. So with that, thank you so much, guys, for being a wonderful audience. Thank you so much for being here and spend 1.5 hours with me. It means a lot because when you ask questions, it gives me something new way to think about the networking. Whenever you go out now, whenever you go to your campus, just visualize that how things are connecting, right? And if you visualize it, then there is a path which comes to your mind that definitely designing is simple. So the whole soul thing is have good understanding of the basic concepts. Just do some visualization when you are in your network or maybe your company organization, right? That is the only ingredients you need. Having said that, bye for now. See you in the next class on the Friday.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.